This is Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Mark. My guest this episode is Simon Kerr of the Wans. We start the show discussing Guinness, Irish coffee, and mead. Makes sense. Simon was born in Ireland, and I'm mostly Irish. But he grew up in Northern Ireland, whereas I did not. His parents were both very musical and imparted that on Simon. It took such deep root in him that his dad is actually his writing partner to this day. That started when Simon was 16, but before, he was reluctantly taking classical guitar lessons, learning a solid foundation whether he wanted it or not. During that time, his dad formed a very close connection to John Prine that was truly life-changing for Simon, and he reveals what the Wans means and why he chose that name. We take a few detours in this conversation, almost like there weren't microphones in front of us. We talk a little bit about cars and Simon's solo album, Doldrums. The Wans are releasing their latest album this summer, and Simon talks about why they record albums so quickly and the connection between the first Wans release and the upcoming one. Follow the Wans at The Wans on Instagram, and go to Bandcamp and pre-order their upcoming album, Magical Touch. Buy their other albums. Follow us at Performance ANX on Twitter and Instagram, and you can support us by buying a cup of coffee at ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety or merch with our logo at performanceanx.threadless.com. Now get ready to eavesdrop on my conversation with Simon Kerr of the Wans on Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network.
Awesome. Hey, this is Simon Kerr. You're listening to Performance Anxiety. I'm from the Wans, and our record Magical Touch is coming out July 26th, so head over to our website and pick it up.
How you been?
Good, man. Good. Still a little groggy from St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. Me too, and Mass and everything. Just, I was thinking about Irishing up my coffee a bit, so.
Yeah.
It's right after St. Patrick's Day.
I know we said we were going to have a Guinness, but I just remembered it's like, shit, it's 10 a.m. I don't know if I can do it. So I'm on the wall.
Well, all right. Well, then I'll do a little bit for both of us.
Yeah.
So, and since you mentioned in the email that you liked the episode with Pete and Leah, I thought I haven't opened this yet, but I do have.
No way.
The motor oil.
So did they send that to you, or were you able to buy it somewhere?
I bought it. You can get it from the distillery, few distilleries. They do some for other bands like the Alice in Chains and a couple other bands. I haven't opened this yet because I've been trying to. I haven't had Rob on the podcast yet. I've had Pete and Leah a couple of times, but haven't had Rob. And I was trying to persuade him or anyone in his camp to get him to come on by saying, I haven't opened this yet, and I would like to crack it open with you on the podcast. But I haven't heard anything back in a couple of months, so it may just get opened pretty soon anyway.
Yeah, man. I feel like there's so many celebrities now doing their own whiskey or whatever. I'll
tell you what's really cool before we start getting into everything is I don't know if you like this or not. I didn't think I would, but I love it now. Is mead.
Oh yeah. Okay.
There is a meadery that two of the guys came on the podcast early on, and they do collaborations with bands too. Huh. And it's not. My first experience with mead was that this like super sickly sweet honey wine thing, and I didn't like it at all. And then I'm trying to remember what I had a band on. And they were talking about how they did this collaboration with this meadery, and it was this mead and metal series that they've done. They take all these like super heavy metal bands and then do a mead with them.
Yeah.
So I reached out to those guys, and they came on, and they're like, "We'll just send you a couple." So they sent me these 2 bottles of mead, and they were amazing. They weren't this like super sweet, awful, artificial flavored tasting thing. They were amazing. So.
Oh, yeah, I haven't had a good experience with mead. So I live in a place called East Nashville, and literally next to us, there's a mead place.
Oh, wow.
I still haven't tried it yet, but I need to go try it.
Yeah, if they do different flavors, especially. This place is called Brimminghorn Meadery there in Delaware, and man, it's so good.
Yeah.
They built this whole Viking hall to have these events and stuff. It's a tasting hall, but it's decked out like this Viking Great Hall. It's just amazing.
So is that where you're located?
No, I'm in Virginia, but so I'm probably 2 or 3 hours away from their shop. But
Okay.
I'm a little outside of DC. I'm about 90 minutes due west of DC. So I'm in Winchester.
Nice, man. Awesome.
Birthplace of Patsy Cline. Since you're in Nashville. So.
Killer. Well, awesome, man.
So, all right. So you've heard a few of the episodes, so you know kind of how it goes.
Yeah, man, I love the one with Oliver from Death by Audio.
Oh, awesome! Yeah,
yeah. So I love their pedals. Remember that one of the times we were in New York touring, we went and knocked on Death by Audio's where they make the pedals and can we take a tour?
Oh,
they're like, well, don't do tours. I was like, oh.
Wow! So I got a sneak peek then, because he was right in one of his workshops. You could see in the background all the guys moving around, working around on some stuff.
Have you ever seen them play?
No.
Place the Very Strangers. Yeah.
No, I haven't, and I'm dying to, because all the pictures I've seen looks like the shows are so crazy.
Yeah, we played CMJ with them, and then they played the show in Nashville, and it was a friend of mine had like a little decibel meter on his phone.
Yeah,
and I think it was 122 decibels. He had 4 Fender twins, and then he picked up one of the twins and put it into the crowd where it was crowd surfing the twin.
Oh my!
Singing to the people. It was awesome.
Insane. The loudest show I've ever seen was Ministry. Actually,
oh yeah,
that was outdoors on a ski resort, and I still had to hold my ears.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable. It was Lollapalooza '92.
Oh, you were at that?
Yeah, I was at Lollapalooza '92 and '94. So I went.
Okay.
I was enormously into Pearl Jam and Soundgarden at the time, and this was just as Jeremy was exploding. So.
Whoa!
It was, and my money was kind of tight, so I figured, bang for my buck, I'll get a ticket for Lollapalooza and see a whole bunch of bands. At that time, it didn't dawn on me that if you're seeing them at a festival, you're seeing a shorter set, and they're not going as nuts. But regardless, it was a great show, and I got introduced to some amazing bands like Lush. I'd heard of the Jesus and Mary Chain, but never really listened to them, and so I got to hear both of those bands, and it confirmed my dislike of Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
And then '94, I went specifically because I was a huge Smashing Pumpkins fan, but even more so, Verve was on the second stage, and I love Verve.
That was during what record was that? That was before Sweet.
That was even before that. That was before A Northern Soul came out, so it was right between A Storm in Heaven and A Northern Soul.
Oh yeah.
So that was '94, because I think Northern Soul came out in '95.
Yeah, that Northern Soul record is so fucking good.
Yeah,
I don't know if you knew this, but I guess I think it was one of the guitarists helped. I think they helped BRMC out in a few records.
And that was the drummer.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, because Nick Jago was strung out on drugs. They fired him, and they had a tour coming up, so they reached out to Pete Salisbury, and they're like, "Hey, you want to play drums for us?" And he's like, "Sure."
I think it was their guitarist though too was helped produce helped with the guitar sounds, which you can hear.
Nick McCabe, it's quite possible, because I've reached out to him because he's one of my favorite guitarists of all time, and I've asked him to come on the podcast. He actually replied to me and he said, "Yeah, probably." And that was a year ago, and I've emailed him several times since, and he hasn't responded to any of those. So,
oh shit.
Well, so we're not here to discuss all kinds of people that you and I both know. We're here to discuss your band.
Yes.
So, what I first want to find out is where are you from originally? Where did you grow up, and what music were you listening to that really started to influence you?
I was born in Derry, which is Northern Ireland.
Okay.
And my parents are both musicians. My dad's a songwriter, and we're actually songwriting partners since I've been 16. So we write everything together.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Before you skip over this ad, give me 1 minute. Like most podcasts, I pick sponsors carefully, and I use the products that advertise here. Pure Spectrum CBD is a product that has been really beneficial for me. They have a wide variety of great products that can be used on a daily or as needed basis. I've been using the tincture every day, and it's been wonderful for easing anxiety. And I absolutely love the isolate. I use it instead of acetaminophen or ibuprofen, and it's worked so well for the relief of aches and pains. They also have soaks, lotions, salves, gummies, and more, plus an entire line for fitness recovery. They even have products for your pets. See everything they offer at purespectrumcbd.com. And if you have questions, they're there to help. They helped me when I had no idea where to start. After you fill your cart, use code PerformanceANX for 15% off your purchase. Pure Spectrum CBD, Pure Spectrum CBD, Pure Spectrum CBD.
Yeah, so my parents mainly listened to like a lot of like Van Morrison, the Beatles, the Kinks, the Jam, like sort of like the 80s British scene.
Yes.
And Irish scene. Yeah, I was always around music. Our next door neighbor was this guy, Michael Bradley, he played bass in that band, the Undertones. Are you familiar with them?
That's not ringing a bell.
They had this song called Teenage Kicks. Teenage Kicks, so hard to beat every time she walks down the street. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
So hard to beat every time she walks down the street. Another girl in the neighborhood. When she was mine, she looked so good. I wanna hold her tight. Get teenage kicks right through the night. I'm gonna call her on the telephone. Have her over 'cause I'm
But they did a bunch of tours with like the Clash and stuff, but they were really killer punk band.
Cool.
But yeah, music was always around me. And then we moved to Nashville when I was 10, and so my dad was touring at the time with this guy John Prine in Ireland.
Wow, yeah.
And so they were the ones that convinced us to move to Nashville in America, and so we did that, and then just became good friends with them, and
God.
And then I was around a lot of songwriters here in Nashville, like this guy Clark, he was played with like Townes Van Zandt.
Yeah, I'm familiar with him.
Yeah, so songs have always been like I've always been obsessed with songs and just like song structure, and then I became obsessed with loud music, and then I sort of tried to morph the two.
So what was the first instrument that you started playing? And was it like something that you wanted to play, or was it something that you had to, like your parents, all right, you're learning piano?
Yeah, it was classical guitar. It was like, so my parents put me in a classical guitar program here, and I fucking hated it at the time.
I bet, man.
This was from when I was like 9 till 14, and then I stopped, and then I picked up guitar again when I was maybe 18 or 19, and the classical guitar lessons really paid off, subconsciously.
Yeah, that I can't even imagine when you're that age. That's the last thing you want to do is learn like Segovia.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. Yeah. And that's what I was joking. I remember when we went over to Alan Johannes's place, because he's like a monster. Like he can do like flamingo and shit.
Yeah.
And I was playing in like some Segovia, and he's like, "No, watch this." It's like, oh God.
So you're taking classical guitar lessons, hating it. When do you start playing with other people? I mean, and are you playing in public at this point? Since your family is so deep into music, are you performing out at that young of an age?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of like acoustic kind of stuff, and it was very like Nick Drakey kind of stuff. And I finally got bored of playing solo, and so at the time I was dating this girl, and her roommate's boyfriend was an engineer. He was with this guy Vance Powell, who's like Vance does like a lot of like the Rocketeers, White Stripes, Beck. Okay. And so he was his assistant engineer, and he played drums. And I'd never played music with anyone ever, so it was just the two of us. We started in this like old warehouse, and wow, and it was nerve wracking. I kept apologizing, like, "I'm sorry, I fucked up." He's like, "Dude, we're making it up as we go."
Well, that sounds like it was good after so much structure with classical guitar to have somebody just sing, relax a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, we did that. And then we recorded our first EP in 2012. And we did it. Really? So this guy, Vance Powell, he's like an analog king. So it was all like, we recorded a tape and we did it in 2 days. So it was like 6 songs. And it was my first time in a real studio. And it was so cool.
Was that the Wans or was that something else?
Yeah, it was the first EP. So we had a few songs that did sort of well. We had this one called I Like to Party and Want You, which is like and I told Peter this, it was Peter Hayes, it was a rip off of a BRMC song, this riff that I got. Getting it on like a bunch of like TV commercials and TV shows, and it helped us stay afloat while we were touring, which was nice.
I listened to that, and that you guys did that in 2 days is incredible. But 5 Spot and Shoot for the Thrill are my 2 favorites off of that.
Oh, nice!
Those
Hell yeah!
Definitely have a BRMC feel to it. I was listening to a lot of BRMC, and then I was just like, I need to stop listening to them because I'm gonna keep fucking copying them. Which is what every band does. They listen to their influences and then morphs into something. But exactly. You got to give it that time to develop. You're gonna sound like your influences, with the rare exception, and then it starts to grow as you find your own voice. So
yeah. But yeah, we did. So we had that record, and then we did our last LP, which was called He Said She Said, and we did that with this guy Dave Cobb, who's he's a big time producer now. Yeah. At the time he was on his way up, but he's doing like Chris Stapleton and Rival Sons and everyone else. I think he just did Barry Gibb's record.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was super fun, and then we just toured really heavily until, I think it was by 2017. We did a bunch of tours with this band called Whiskey Myers and Dad Sarah, and we did a bunch of festivals, and it was a blast. So and then we just took a break. What
is a Wan?
A Wan is like an inside joke. So in Derry in Northern Ireland, you'd say, oh, them Wans over there, they're fucking way drunk. Them Wans over there. And so it was honestly like we had our first show booked, and we didn't have a band name, and the guy was just like, well, what's the name of the band? And I was just like, oh, the Wans. And then it just sort of stuck, and I was just like, all right, I guess we're just gonna keep that.
Oh my gosh, that's one of the things I hear so often is that we had all this music, we had no name.
Yeah.
And that's how you get these very unusual names.
I remember the first time I went back to Ireland to see my cousins, and I told them the name of the band, that they were just like, no fucking way. Are you serious? I was like, yeah, I'm sorry.
But it worked. We're on the radio, we're on commercials, and I'm touring with all these people. So, hey.
Yeah.
Those songs, were those also on the first EP, were those also written with your dad, or were those more of...
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So the process that we do is we would set aside it was like every Sunday, we would write a song, just me and him, and then I would take it to the band, and then we'd build it up and sort of make it rocky. But yeah, it's just some father sons, they go fish, and me and my dad, we just like to ride together, and that's sort of what we enjoy doing, and it works.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Me and my dad used to restore antique cars, so this is totally different.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So did we. Yeah, my first car was a '72 Oldsmobile 442.
Ooh, I love that with the rear fender flare on the.
Yeah. W30 hood, the 400 block.
All right. So my first car was a 65 Ford Falcon with a
nice.
302. Yeah. Well, we put a 302 in it, but we could never get it running. When the guy we bought the engine from put combined solid and hydraulic lifters in it, and we had to go. And then I didn't keep up my end of the bargain by keeping my grades up, and so my dad's like, car's gone. But that was when I was like 14. So when I was able to drive, my first actual car was a 1953 Ford F100 with a small block Chevy in it, a 400 Chevy.
3 on the tree?
No, but that is what I learned to drive a stick on a 41 Ford with a 283 Chevy V8, like from 55. It was an old original 50s hot rod. So
wow.
It was crazy.
Yeah. The first car my dad bought, he started restoring it when I was like 13 or 14. It was a 280Z, and then it was 78 280Z, a Datsun, and then we were like halfway through, we had primered everything, and then we found this Cutlass, and I was just like, "Fuck the Datsun, I want that."
Yeah,
it was like cherry red.
Oh man,
blew a rod through the block the first year I had it, trying to put it on the interstate, which was a terrible idea.
Oh no. I had a 72 El Camino that had something similar to it. It was a fake SS, but it looked nice. It was like this soft yellow. It wasn't that like this awful offensive yellow. It was a soft with the black stripes on it. But we had a 70 SS 454 Chevelle that was just insane.
Damn, man, killer.
Oh, we used to. My dad would. I mean, he had a good job, and it was the 80s, in the 80s, 90s, so things weren't as crazy as crazy expensive as they are now. But he would buy these, we would fix them up, and he'd sell it. Wouldn't make any money. I mean, at best, you probably, he made money on a few, but probably break even, just enough to buy the next project and work on that. So,
But, cool.
I mean, there's between the two of us, we've probably owned like 150 cars at one.
Seriously?
Together.
Wow.
Yeah. It's insane. But one of my favorites was my 1989 SHO Taurus. That was just insane.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was the V6 high performance model, right?
Yeah, it had an engine. It was like a mix. The engine was the block was built by Ford, and like the heads and the intake and all were built by Yamaha. So it was just like this. Yeah, it was like this insane, almost motorcycle V6 inside this sedan. And I got that thing I got up to about 140, and I didn't have much pedal left, but I still had some. And I was like, this is too much.
Yeah.
But I love that thing. Oh, man.
The fastest, we just did a road trip to New Orleans. A friend of ours just got one of these new Rivian trucks. It's like the all electric.
Yeah.
And so it was the first time getting to drive one of those, and it was scary fast. It was like 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, which is for an 8,000 pound truck. Insane. It doesn't make sense.
God, that is amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so I can see we're going to be taking a lot of detours on this show.
Yeah.
That's fine. I love doing that. All right, so you mentioned that you're touring a lot after the EP.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, He Said, She Said came out. The music has definitely grown at that point. I mean, it's less blues. And to me, it sounds more, there's a little more of an Alice in Chains type of influence, a little heavier.
Yeah.
The harmonies are wonderful. So I definitely hear a lot of growth in that.
You just say wonderful?
Yeah. I think I did. And if it was accidental, it's not.
No, the sound definitely changed. And that goes back to us doing, it was the first time we had recorded with a producer, which was Dave Cobb.
Right.
And so he was, his studio was amazing. We recorded on this old Helios board. It's like what Zeppelin 1 and 2 were recorded on, it's a really swanky old British board from the late 60s. And he was nice enough to just lend his hand to us and record us. And that meant a lot, but it definitely helped our career a bit.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
He played in this band called the Tender Idols I guess it was in the 90s, but he was like obsessed with like the Verve and Blur and all the Britpop kind of stuff. So we bonded over that, as well as like Alice in Chains, grunge kind of stuff. And I was listening to a lot of Nirvana then too, as I have been since I was a kid.
Right. So most of your stuff is done, at least at that point, was all analog.
Yep.
And that was, which is, I guess, at this day and age unusual, because that came out in what? Is it 16? 14. Okay.
Yeah. So basically everything's been like the first record was done on tape. So was the second. And then the third was recorded with analog gear, but we recorded it to, Pro Tools. Okay. We didn't use tape. So, yeah.
Okay. And that's the Run Baby Run EP.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So before we hit into that, I did want to tell you how much I love the song Turn Your Back.
Oh, nice.
Oh man, that's so cool.
It was so hard to record.
Really? It's a great riff, but the harmonies under the background is just amazing. I love it.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, we did Mark, who was playing drums at the time, he just did like a drum loop, and we just looped it throughout the whole thing, and then me and Thomas, who plays bass, we just played along to it. Okay. And it was I think that was the most production out of any track on that record.
So at that was the time Noah had left at that point then.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. He went to go play with this band who we're still friends with, Tyler Bryant and Shakedown. And so they were doing big tours with like AC/DC and Guns N' Roses. And now he's since left and he's back playing with us.
Back in the fold.
Yeah.
You guys have had a pretty consistent release schedule. Every couple of years, something's coming out. And Run Baby Run, no exception. Seeing Red. Oh, what a great song. That's a great example of hearing how the sound of the band has progressed while still keeping the band's sound. And that, to me, is always amazing how you can hear and tell it doesn't sound like something off the first EP, but It sounds like the band. And that to me is always impressive when you can hear progression, but still some familiarity.
Oh, thanks. That's my favorite track on that EP, that Seeing Red.
Oh yeah.
There's so much movement in the chords, and that one's hard as shit to play live. So.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. So, are you guys at this point still playing live a whole bunch? I mean, is it constant?
Well, yeah. So the last Run Baby Run happened in 2016, and then we toured up until 2018, and then I did a solo record. And then we took 2020 happened. We were in the middle of trying to write a record, and then. So then we just sort of stopped until 2021. So
the solo record, was that done after you guys had decided to take a break? I mean, was that stuff written specifically to be a solo record?
Yeah, it was. But it was all members of the Wans and a bunch of other friends that played on it. So it was just like Yeah, it was because I love like Nick Drake and all that kind of stuff, and I wanted to get those particular songs off my chest, and it was sonically completely different from the band.
It really is. It's called Doldrums, and it was. Let's see. So you did mention actually just about all the members of the Wans show up on that at some point. Songbird is like that's my favorite, followed up by the title track.
Oh, nice.
I love Songbird. That's such a beautiful track.
Thanks, man.
It's softer, it's moodier, more acoustic based.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure when I saw that coming up. I wasn't exactly sure what it would be, and I was thrilled when I heard it. It's just, and was that stuff that you'd also written with your dad?
Yep. Yeah.
So is that kind of the way the songs start off? You write them with your dad, and before they become Wansed? Is that what they sound like? The stuff that ends up on Doldrums before the band gets a hold of them?
Yeah, I mean they sound like folk songs when we write them, and then once I plug in, then the songs always change because I want to put fuzz on everything.
I get that.
Yeah, that's another thing my dad and I are big fans of are vintage guitars. I like it's a 41 Martin and a 64 Gibson Junior. I've got way too many guitars, more than cars than you had.
And I've got one halfway decent guitar and a bunch of two. I take that back. I have a decent acoustic, a decent Mexican Strat, and then a bunch of junk. Like 3 other guitars that are just, if they caught fire today, I wouldn't cry. But they make weird noises, which is what I like. So,
oh yeah,
I like getting weird effects pedals and making weird noise. I can't really play very well, but I like to make noise.
Yeah, I just picked up this. On the new record, I bought this pedal specifically that I envisioned the sound to sound like, and it was this. It's a Univox Super Fuzz. So it's a pedal from 1969. It's the Stooges sound, and so I put it on the entire new record. And
okay. Oh my gosh, we are coming up to the new record, but I wanted to find out a little bit about the gap in between albums here. We had a whole pandemic kind of going on too. Were you still writing throughout that gap period where there wasn't a Wans album coming out and you weren't doing your solo stuff? Were you still writing?
Yeah. So I was still writing a lot, and the beginning of 2020 was weird. Some people reacted differently to it. As far as like, and that sort of that hindered like our rehearsals. We couldn't really meet up or anything, but I was still writing, and Mark, who was playing drums in the band, so he moved back to Pennsylvania, so we sort of had to start from scratch and like rebuilding it up. And so that's when our friend Noah stepped in, and we started getting back together, and I think it was the beginning of 2021 to start playing, and I had all of these songs written up, and then I was able to convince them to go into the studio to record. But
nice.
Yeah.
Was there a catalyst to get the band back together, or was it that was the plan before the pandemic hit? You guys were going to get back together and record something else anyway?
Yeah, that was the plan. It was after the pandemic to get back together, but Mark had decided to move back, and so it was just like all right, I'm gonna make this happen, and I did, because we maybe had like 3 or 4 of the songs before COVID hit, and then I wrote the rest of them. But the 3 or 4 songs was that Magical Touch song, which is out now.
Right. Yeah, their very first single.
Yeah, and I knew that song had legs, and I was like, we have to fucking record this.
And the band has expanded now. There's more people in it.
Yeah, and so we got our good friend Akshay Narang, and so he's been a good friend of ours for the past 10 years, and he's like into synths, but he's been playing guitar and stuff. But he brought his musical influences with him as well. Like he's big into like Depeche Mode and like Ministry and like sort of that kind of stuff.
The band that still hurts my ears.
yeah, man. It's like the sound has morphed again into something that I think is really special, that I'm really excited for.
So what is bleh. My lips are sticking together. I need some more coffee. There we go. So who's in the band now?
So Bag is on bass, so he's been playing bass with us since 2012. Akshay playing synth and guitar, Noah on drums, and then myself. So instead of a 3-piece, it's a 4-piece. And honestly, adding another person helps me breathe a bit playing, because a 3-piece was a blast, but it's so demanding.
I can imagine. I mean, and you guys don't have. Oh, I guess I should phrase it this way. You guys have a dense sound. So I can't imagine trying to recreate that live. I mean, I always love when stuff sounds a little bit different live than it does in the studio. But as a musician, I can imagine, you don't want it sounds so dense on the album. You don't want it to sound thin live.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about that is like all of these songs, like everything that we've recorded as the Wans is really easy to replicate, except for Turn Your Back, because that one's really hard. It's mainly, not to say easy, but it's just easy because we recorded it all live and we know we can play it live. I mean, obviously getting the sonics right of the tones and stuff is the trick, but we can do it live. So
I did read that the new album was recorded live. Is that the way you've done everything, is to basically record it live to tape?
Yeah. So that's
even more impressive.
Yeah. For me, the studio is like I'm terrified of the studio. Like it's always like before, like the first few days, I'm just so anxious, but I love playing live. Like that's what I love to do. But, which is one of the reasons we always record live, is just to get it over and done with. It's like, all right, there we go.
Is that why you guys don't stay in the studio very long then too? Cause I know the first EP was done in like 2 days. I think this one was done in like a week or something.
Yeah, it's done in a week. Yeah.
God.
Yeah, well, I think it's honestly, I think it's better to record things quickly, just because you don't have time to overthink things. I mean, you can spend a lot of time mixing and stuff, which I don't do.
But if you don't have 97 takes of something, you got to work with what you got.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let me go check out take number 29. That might be hit one note differently. Yeah. You mentioned the song Magical Touch, and I like that so much. And the video is great. And it's such a great homage to Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it to do something like that?
So it was mine. I mean, like I love Hunter S. Thompson, and I love the Fear and Loathing, and it was just like our good friend Jason Denton, he's the guy that directed it, and he's collaborated with me on everything. He does all the artwork. He did the artwork for Magical Touch and basically all the other records. But yeah, I just came with him with that idea, and he was like, "Fuck yeah, man, let's do it." And we just had the idea of taking mushrooms and then just seeing where the day went. They were real mushrooms. No, they weren't. But yeah, man, that video was an absolute blast. We're going to be doing another video for one of the other singles in the next few months.
It comes across that you guys are having a blast, because it looks like everybody's just insane in that. It's just hilarious.
Yeah, it shows all of our Nashville haunts over the years. There's a scene down there. There's a bar. It's called Melrose Billiards, which is where we shot, and it's like this old pool hall from the 20s, and that's where like I used to go down there when I was younger. John Prine used to always play snooker down there, and like it's got a cool history.
Good. Yeah, I used to go hang out with John, play some pool.
Yeah, he was a pool shark.
You know what? That does not surprise me. I gotta say, that does not surprise me at all. You guys have also released the second single I guess just a few days ago as of this recording, and Other Side. I think that might be my favorite track on the album.
Oh, no, really?
I absolutely love that song. That's just, I don't know, just the feel of it. It's just, it resonates with me. I love it so much.
Yeah. I think the writing for this record in particular changed. Like my dad and I actually had a discussion. We were just sort of studying a lot of like the songwriters like Guy Clark and Townes Van Zandt, and how simple they're just simplifying like a lyric to be as simple as possible to make it pop through the music.
Okay.
And I don't know. Yeah, we definitely planned that out, and I think that the songwriting has morphed into something cooler than before.
It has. It's like the music. It's evolving, and it fits with the music, and I think you put it perfectly where it cuts through a lot better the way you've written this. It's more impactful.
Yeah.
So do you guys have a video for this one coming up for Other Side, or?
No, not for that one. We're going to do one for this song called "Like the Way You Used to," which is going to be the fourth single, and that's one of my favorite tracks on the record.
Oh, okay.
For me. So we're gonna do a video for that one, and and the Other Side one, the super fuzz pedal I was talking about, that's the guitar solo at the very end.
Yes,
that's my favorite guitar solo on the record.
Oh, cool. I'll tell you what one hit me. I think maybe hit me the most is the one at the end of "Enough of Your Love."
Oh, right.
First of all, that initial guitar riff is amazing, but the solo at the end, that whole extended coda is just awesome. It sounds like if you had My Bloody Valentine, but not as processed. Like if you took the only Shallow and had that riff that was going through, but stripped away all the processing and the effects and just had a simple, fuzz tone on it. It reminds me of that.
Oh, nice, man.
Huge My Bloody Valentine fan. So that
that was all Akshay on guitar on the end of that part.
That's fantastic.
I think we had like 10 pedals. It was all fuzz. I was just like,
man, you get some weird sounds doing that.
Yeah.
And the other one that really stood out for me, and the whole album is so good, but I'm just mentioning the ones that really, really stood out for me is "I'd Do Anything." That's got this super nasty tone, especially on the guitar solos. Yeah. The feedback blasts throughout that. That's what I love.
Yeah, that's my other favorite one too. That one started off as like just an acoustic ballad, and I just thought it was like the I know. Wow. Yeah, when I was writing it, it started off as an acoustic ballad.
Oh my god!
But I thought the lyrically and the harm and like the melody is just very like ominous but ominous and sexy, you know.
Oh yeah. Hey, those two things are not mutually exclusive.
But yeah, the whole record, like lyrically, is very it's very positive, which I think was needed after 2020, 2021, and still
2023, 2024. So who knows? There's also another really cool aspect of this album, and it's the serendipity with the so far the release date.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I need you to explain this connection because I don't want to do it.
So we released the first EP in July 26, 2012. And so because it had been so long since we had since released a record, I wanted it to have some relation back to the first record. And so we decided to release it July 26, 2023.
That's awesome.
And I don't know, it was because we had these like ongoing arguments in the band of whether we should do like release a single or an EP, and I was just like, no, it's like if we're gonna do anything, we're gonna release a full record. Oh, and so that's just I like the meaning behind it because it brings back memories of the first record, and this honestly I feel the excitement of the first record for this one. It feels like
Oh, that is awesome.
So yeah, I'm super pumped.
The whole album's got this great fuzz tone to it. It sounds like a great rock record from the 70s. It's got that awesome analog fuzzy sound to it. It's awesome. One of the other really cool things is the artwork for the cover. That also has a throwback feel to it. Oh man, you got it right there.
I'll yeah, so Jason Denton did the artwork, and we were so he's been so we were talking about a lot about like Salvador Dali and like that kind of like trippy kind of artwork.
Yeah.
And so he's been exploring with AI and like coming up with designs. Yeah. And so basically he'll type in something and it'll pop up, and then he'll tweak it. And that's parts of this were all done via AI.
Wow.
This is insane. But I think the first time I saw it, it reminded me of like an ELO cover or something.
Yeah, I was thinking ELO or I don't know why Alan Parsons came into my head. Maybe not Alan Parsons, maybe something prog almost.
All right, yeah.
Because not a Roger Dean, but yeah, it's just something from the 70s. It definitely has a 70s feel to it, which goes with the sound, which is fantastic.
Yeah, very happy with it.
What are the plans with the band in the upcoming years? So the album, you've got some pretty cool, I don't know what you're allowed to say, what I can say. So let's just say, I know you've got some really cool appearances coming up in the near future.
Yeah, so the plan is to tour this year. So we're getting everything together with that, and then we've got some local shows in Nashville for right now. But nothing that I can't divulge too much of the things that are in the works, but it's gonna be really exciting. I'll be excited to get back on the road. It's been so long.
And it's gonna be some higher profile things are in the works.
Sure, yeah.
I would love to see you guys do this stuff live. So if you guys come to DC area, Virginia, Maryland, I would definitely be at a show.
Absolutely. Yeah. We were with that band Whiskey Myers, and we did the 930, I think it was the 930 Club in DC. And that was super cool.
That's a great club.
Yeah.
I like that place. It's fun to shoot. I do a lot of photography, live music photography, and that's one of my favorite places to shoot. It's really, really easily accessible for photographers. There's other clubs that aren't as accommodating.
So Black Cat, isn't that one of them?
Black Cat's one of them. That is a really cool club to see a show at. It's a horrible place to shoot. Like at the 930, there's a little alleyway between the crowd and the stage. There's a little so I can go in and I can shoot. There's no separation between the stage and the crowd at Black Cat. So if it's a popular band or they've got a following, if I can't, I'm a short guy, so I can't go and stand up and shoot over people. Sure. I'm like 5'6" on a good day. So I've got to kind of find a spot and shoot between people. And if I've shot Woven Hand at Black Cat, and I've shot Max Sabbath. And
Max Sabbath, no way.
Yeah, I'll have to send you some shots of this. It's amazing. Or check out my Instagram, Mark X Shea.
Okay, yeah.
That's one of the best concerts I've been to in my entire life.
So they were sonically, it was actually cool.
Yes.
Max Sabbath. Okay.
Max Sabbath was amazing. It's just, and for anybody who doesn't know, it's a band that takes the songs of Black Sabbath and they rewrite the lyrics to warn you of the dangers of fast food and GMOs. And each of the musicians dresses up as a McDonald's character.
It's amazing.
It is really amazing. I had their manager on the podcast, Mike Odd. I'm speechless because it was an amazing, weird interview, and it was just an insane show.
Yeah.
But some of the best pictures I've ever taken in my life, and I loved that show. It was so great.
So have you interviewed some of the guys from Brian Jonestown Massacre too? Didn't you do one with one of those?
I did have one guy, Ricky Mimey.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember. I listened to that one. I really liked it.
Oh, good. Ricky is such a great guy. That was one of those that lasted like 3 hours.
All right.
And I had to edit so much out of it, and I got it down to like 2.5.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's such an awesome dude.
I know they just put out a new record like a few weeks ago or pretty recently. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and I think the last time they came to DC, I was hoping to go, but I missed it. And the same with the Dandy Warhols. I missed them as well the last time they came because I was shooting another band. I do photography for a local DC live music blog.
Oh, nice.
And when I see that bands that have been on the podcast are playing live, a lot of times I'll see if they'll let me come and shoot them too. So it's one of those two ways I usually get in and we'll see a band. And
yeah, nice, man.
Yeah, and most of the time, I should say all of the time, I basically just trade going into the show and a photo pass and maybe a +1 for photos. I'll just send the band the photos.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
So is that your job as well?
Well, photography used to be my job.
Yeah.
I went to college for it, and so I did that for about 12, 15 years, somewhere around there. And then
nice.
My wife and I started a family, and I had to get a real job, insurance and everything.
I hear you.
so now I kind of dropped out of it, except for just shooting the kids and all for years. And then doing this podcast, I started getting back into music, even more intensely than I was at first, before then. Started getting back into photography, and the very first band I ever shot, I had Kelly Scott from Failure and Jordan Zederosny from Blink of the Star on.
Yes.
And Kelly, I said, hey, I'd love to take some photos of you guys. He's like, hell yeah. He's like, I'll get you a pass. No big deal. So they played at 9:30, and I went down and met up with Kelly. We met before the show. He gave me everything, and I went and I shot the whole show and gave him some pictures. So.
Man, yeah, I got dragged to a Failure show, and I had no idea. I'd never listened to them before, but it was the Fantastic Planet. They were playing it in its entirety.
Yes.
In Nashville, and I was just like, holy shit, this is amazing. They're fantastic live.
They're one of those bands that can, no matter how complex they write a song, they can, as a trio, they can pull it off live.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, back when Fantastic Planet came out, they had Troy Van Leeuwen.
That's right.
And even without him touring now as back to the trio, they're still pulling it off, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, fantastic band. Another band Troy played with as well, that band Autolux. Do you know that?
Yes.
You remember that?
Autolux is great. I haven't been able to see them live, but I do have some of their albums. You probably know this. Greg Edwards also plays in Pussifer.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And so does his partner Karina Round. She's the singer.
Wow.
So
I haven't actually given them a solid listen like I really should, but my bandmate Akshay, he and Noah, they love Pussifer. They were trying to get me to go to one of their shows. Send me a record after this that I should listen to.
It's a weird band.
Yeah.
It's a weird weird ass show.
Okay.
The latest show is all about aliens and the government, and it's typical Maynard stuff. But I was saying with you, I didn't really get into Pussifer until the show in DC, and it was with that live blog. I reached out and I'm like, I saw them coming. I'm like, I'd love to shoot this band. I mean, how often do you get a chance to shoot anything with Maynard? Just for the opportunity to say I shot Maynard would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Somebody had already claimed the photo pass. So the blog was like, we've got photos, but they don't want to write the article. We've got another ticket. If you want to go and write the article, feel free. Yeah. So I was like, okay, sure. So to do that, I had to go and get familiar with their music, and I started listening to it, and there's some really good stuff in there. I was, the first stuff I heard of it was more electronic and stuff, and I was just like, no, the electronic stuff isn't, I'm not the biggest fan of Depeche Mode and Ministry and all, so but there's enough on every album to keep me interested, and the last couple albums are just really, really solid. So
and
awesome. They pull it off live too. It's just, I mean, they've got Greg Edwards on bass too.
Didn't they do, wasn't like their live show, didn't they have like a wrestling thing going on behind them or something?
They hit, I think that was the album before their latest one, because when I was at the show, it was in this theater. It's a very historic theater in DC called the Warner Theater.
Yeah.
They only, and this is an aside, they only let you shoot 2 songs, 2 songs worth of photos. And then they tell you not, and they also tell the audience, if we see you on your phone, we will confiscate it. So they don't want any videos leaking of their show. They don't want anybody to know what's going on before that. But while I was in line waiting to get my pass, some dude came up in a luchador outfit, and they made him take half of it off so before he could get into the theater, because he had the mask on and all. Like, you can't come in here with a mask. What are you, nuts? So they made him take like the mask and the cape and all. I had to check his boots. And
what the fuck?
It was insane. I'm sitting there. I just see this luchador in line getting frisked. I'm like, this is the weirdest.
Am I on acid right now?
Yeah. Am I taking mushrooms? Am I hanging out with Simon now? What's going on? But yeah, they're coming back around this summer, and so I might go see him again with Kurt though this time. So that would be pretty cool.
Nice, man. That's awesome.
So where is the album going to be available? How can people find the new album, Magical Touch?
So the record it'll be everywhere, Spotify, Apple, and then we've got our, I understand people listen to streaming a lot, but if you go to our Bandcamp, you can order our vinyl, which is, that's sort of how we'll make money, is actually selling records.
Yeah.
I didn't want to put any CDs up. I don't know. Do you still listen to CDs?
I do.
You do?
I have. Okay. I looked at your Bandcamp, and your CDs are so reasonably priced. I'm going to have to buy them because, A, I loved the music when I went back and listened to it. I just thought it was fantastic. And I still, here, hold on a second. I'll show you what I've got sitting next to me.
See. Yes.
That's a stack of stuff that I've just been sent that I haven't listened to. Wait, hold on. Somebody just sent me this.
Oh, Lennon box set. Cool.
And then here's another stack.
All right. Killer.
Oh, and that's, I still have 3 more piles of CDs on this table, and that has nothing to do with the 3,500 that are down in my basement right now. So before, at the beginning of the podcast, when we were chatting about Alan, yes,
who plays in 11, the band. So when he invited us over to his house, it was after we played the Troubadour, and we were just all freaking out because obviously he's I love his stuff in 11, and I love his stuff when he played with Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah.
But when we went into his house, we just all kept looking at each other like, what the fuck? That's Alan Johannes. He played in 11.
Yeah. I will tell you this. Alan Johannes he came on early in the podcast, and I'd say in the first 50 episodes, and so I've got like 320 now or something, and he was one of the first more well-known people I had on.
Yeah.
And I told him, we were texting, and so I reached out to him and I'm like, I'm going to be completely honest with you right now. I'm a little nervous about this episode. And he's like, no, man, he's like, we're going to have so much fun. Don't even worry about it. I was like,
oh, that's nice.
I love you. I love you so much.
But yeah, man. So you can go to our Bandcamp and get the vinyl there, or just listen on Spotify or whatever anyone else does these days. But we'll probably get some CDs made, just so I can send them to you.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I noticed looks like there's a few left of some of the other ones, limited edition ones. I'm going to grab those as soon as I possibly can. And
Fantastic.
What is the best way for people to follow you and check out tour dates, upcoming higher profile appearances?
So yeah, mainly on our Instagram is @thewans, WANS, and then on Facebook and our website, thewansmusic.com, and so that'll have all of our upcoming dates, tour dates, and all the new info. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we've just spent an hour. It feels like just BSing with an old friend. So thank you.
This is awesome, Mark. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for sharing the music and for listening to the podcast. That means more than you'll ever know. I really do appreciate the support.
Yeah, man. Thank you.